Every road you drive on traces back to a Roman invention. Every court of law you enter follows Roman principles. Every apartment building you live in was first imagined by Roman engineers. Every language in Western Europe, French, Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, Romanian, is a daughter of Latin. The calendar you use every day, January, February, March, Roman months named after Roman gods. Rome didn't just build an empire, Rome built the world we still live in. And the story of how a group of shepherds on 7 hills created the most powerful civilization in human history is the greatest story ever told. The story begins in 753 BC, according to Roman legend, when twin brothers Romulus and Remus, raised by a wolf, founded a city on 7 hills above the Tiber River in central Italy. It sounds like myth, but archaeology confirms that settlements on those hills date back at least that far. For the first 200 years, Rome was a kingdom ruled by kings, some wise and some brutal. Then, in 509 BC, the Romans did something extraordinary. They threw out their king, a tyrant named Tarquin the Proud, and declared that no single man would ever rule Rome again. A senate of experienced statesmen. A system of checks and balances so sophisticated that the founding fathers of the United States studied it directly when designing the American Constitution. From that small city on 7 hills, Rome began to grow. First, it conquered its Italian neighbors, then Sicily, then Greece, then Spain, then North Africa, then Gaul, modern France, then Egypt. The Mediterranean Sea, which Romans called Mare Nostrum, our sea, became a Roman lake. And still Rome grew. The engine of Roman expansion was the Roman legion, arguably the most effective military force in human history. A Roman legion consisted of approximately 5,000 soldiers called legionaries who were the most disciplined, most trained, and most organized warriors of the ancient world. They didn't just fight, they built. Every night on campaign, a Roman legion constructed a fully fortified camp with walls, ditches, gates, and streets in just a few hours. Then, in the morning, they packed it up and marched 20 miles to do it again. Roman military engineering was centuries ahead of its time. The testudo, or tortoise formation, where soldiers locked their shields above and around them to form an impenetrable shell, could advance through arrow storms that would have destroyed any other army. Roman siege engines, catapults, ballistae, siege towers could reduce fortified cities to rubble, and Roman roads, to 50,000 miles of them, stretching from Scotland to Mesopotamia, were so well built that many are still visible today. An army that could move fast and build anything was an army that could conquer everything. For 400 years, the Roman Republic functioned. Not perfectly, but it functioned. And then came Julius Caesar. Caesar was perhaps the most gifted man Rome ever produced. A military genius who conquered all of Gaul, modern France, and Belgium in 8 years. A politician of extraordinary charisma who could make enemies into allies with a single speech. A writer whose accounts of his campaigns are still read in Latin classes today. But Caesar had ambitions that the Republic could not contain. In 49 BC, ordered to give up his army and return to Rome as a private citizen, he crossed the Rubicon River with his legions instead. Civil War. The phrase "crossing the Rubicon," meaning a point of no return, comes from that moment. Caesar won the Civil War. He became dictator. And on the Ides of March 15th, 44 BC, he was stabbed 23 times on the floor of the Senate by men who called themselves liberators. They thought they were saving the Republic. Instead, they killed it. The chaos that followed Caesar's death led directly to the rise of his adopted son Octavian, who became Augustus Caesar, the first emperor of Rome. The Republic was gone. The empire had begun. Under Augustus and his successors, Rome entered its golden age, a period historians call the Pax Romana, the Roman peace, that lasted almost 200 years. At its peak, the Roman Empire contained 70 million people, 1/4 of the entire world's population. Its territory stretched from Hadrian's Wall in northern England to the deserts of Mesopotamia, from the Rhine and Danube rivers to the Sahara Desert. And within this empire, something extraordinary happened. People of 100 different cultures speak in dozens of different languages, worship in dozens of different gods, lived under a single system of law, Roman law, which established the presumption of innocence, the right to face your accuser, and the concept of legal equality became the foundation of legal systems across the entire Western world. Roman cities were engineering marvels. Aqueducts brought fresh water to millions. The Aqua Claudia in Rome carried water 45 miles entirely by gravity. The Colosseum held 80,000 spectators. The Pantheon, built in 125 AD, has a concrete dome that remained the largest in the world for 1,300 years. Roman concrete was so advanced that scientists are still trying to fully understand how it was made. But every empire falls, and Rome's fall was the most consequential collapse in Western history. Historians have proposed over 200 reasons for the fall of Rome: political corruption, military overreach, economic collapse, climate change, the rise of Christianity changing Roman values, waves of barbarian invasions from the north and east. The truth is, Rome didn't fall in a day. It declined over centuries. The Western Empire, centered on Rome itself, finally collapsed in 476 AD when a Germanic chieftain named Odoacer deposed the last Roman emperor, a boy named Romulus Augustulus. The greatest empire the Western world had ever known ended not with a bang, but with a whimper. But the Eastern Empire, centered on Constantinople, survived for another 1,000 years as the Byzantine Empire. And the idea of Rome, its laws, its language, its architecture, its political concepts, never died. The Catholic Church preserved Latin. The Renaissance rediscovered Roman art and philosophy. And the American founding fathers consciously modeled their republic on Rome, complete with the Senate, a system of checks and balances, and classical architecture on every government building. Rome fell, but Rome never ended. Ancient Rome lasted over 1,000 years as a dominant civilization. It conquered most of the known world. It gave us our laws, our languages, our architecture, our calendar, and our very idea of what civilization should look like. And when it fell, it left behind a ghost that still haunts every corner of the modern world. We are all, in some profound sense, Romans, and we always will be. If this story moved you, subscribe, because next week we go inside the world of the Persian Empire, the civilization that built the first human rights charter in history, and the story most people have never heard. See you next week.